And I think I need to stand. So I'm just kind of used to standing. If I sit, I feel like I'm gonna get complacent. And just to let you guys know, it's like I'm really nervous. Whenever I'm asked to share, I don't care how big the meeting is, whatever. Especially coming to a GRCNA, and I kind of equate it to like a roller coaster ride. So I know Sandy, who's I think she's like the vice chair, so she calls up and she does a lot of service work and I walked into our room. It was about I don't know 9 o'clock at night. My wife was on the phone. She goes, "I'm talking to Sandy GRCNA," and right then I knew that we were getting called to do some service work, right? And that's an honor. It's an honor to be able to do that. And so, but when that happens, I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then really, what it's like I just sat down. I just got into the cart of the roller coaster, and the arm just kind of came right over my lap, and it's like, okay, here you go. Now you're on the ride, right? And all of a sudden, just like. And then as the days progress, my mind will get. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. And then the next day, I'm like that little boy whistling in the dark. Hey, Becca. I'm like the little boy whistling in the dark, where I'm scared as hell, but I'm trying not to act like it, And so it's just like this wave of emotion going through. And then so leading up to today, so coming down here yesterday, my disease was running rampant. Your disease, it could be, the devil. It could be, for me, I like to call it my disease. It could be, what's ever troubling you. But I just know that for me, and then getting into my mind, and then getting into my head, which I was told, if you get up into your head, it's like getting behind enemy lines, right? And so, like yesterday, the whole thing began because, like, the truth about it is that my disease doesn't want me to be part of this. My disease has kept me out there, kept me doing what I was doing for 27 years. And the fact of the matter is that when I come into Narcotics Anonymous, and like for me to be part of this, the reality of it is it's like I'm home, and there's nobody out there that wants to harm me or is going to think less of me, because I know that, because like when I'm sitting out there, that's the same way I'm feeling about the person who's standing up here talking, and that support that we get from one another. I just felt like I wanted to share that because, like, I just know in the beginning, like, this is a meeting about for steps 1, 2, and 3, and so, with that being said, you think like there's going to be a lot of newcomers coming in and wanting to hear about that, and so for the fact of the matter is that before I even got started on my step work, before I even got to steps 1, 2, and 3, I had all these other emotions going on, the feelings like thinking like I'm not good enough, or I'm not part of, or I'm not going to be accepted, And the reality of it is like when I first came to Narcotics Anonymous, this is not even knowing anything about the step work. I just knew that the friendliness and the love that I got from all you guys is what attracted me to it, right? Because like when I came into my first one, there was nobody that was like, "What are you doing here?" or nothing like that. There was all these people giving me hugs and these smiles and like, "Hey, glad you're here. Keep coming back." I was like, "Yeah, okay. I don't know what the hell. I probably will keep coming back." You hear all these sayings, And so I just have to remind myself. Is that when I do this, and just know that I'm loved. And I want you guys to know the fact of the matter is too is like if you guys are here right now and you're at a convention, if this is your first convention, or if it's your 10th convention, or wherever you're at, if you're in your head, if you're going through these things, because also I realize that when I share this, I know that I'm not alone. I know that when I share that, a lot of times people are going to go, man, I just was sharing the same damn thing. I'm feeling the same exact way, And a lot of times, too, coming to conventions, just the size of them, and there's a lot of anxiety, and there's, getting situated, going to the right one, and, or am I hugging everybody, or am I shaking hands, or do I know the person's name? Or the worst thing is like when I know someone's name, and I haven't seen it for a little bit, and then I can't remember their name, and their name card's flipped over the other way where I can't see their name on it, and I just almost want to go, like, flip it over, hey, well, how you doing, Man, we were talking about that the other day. Yeah. So, for 1, 2, and 3 with me, I always feel like the only way that I can really get that story across right for me, and this is just for my stories, is I have to share, for me coming to, having a moment of clarity. And I think having my moment of clarity is what was vital for me to even do this program. So, I'm just going to share this part of the story. So, on April 24th, 2009, it was a day that I was visited by my guardian angels disguised as Narcotics Task Force, And so, and when they came in, at that point, shotguns come in and the dogs were in, and all this other stuff, you know, and like they came in way over, they didn't, all they had to do was knock on the door and come in. It wasn't like it was, you know, I wasn't one of the guys that carried guns, and I wasn't just like, you guys brought way too much ammunition, you know, you didn't need all that, you know, just like, and plus they already know where everything is anyways. When they come in there, it's not like they're, you know, it's like in that lifestyle, to have them come in on me, another thing is just like, I had four confidential informants that turned me in, right? And the thing about it is, like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, everybody that comes here is my friends, and they're all my family. We love one another, right? And the fact that then I would think like nobody would ever turn me in, and it's not. But that's that lifestyle. You know what I mean? And so, you know, at first I was kind of like floored, thinking, man, 4 of you guys turned me in? Wow, you know? But then after kind of coming to, you know, get some clarity of mind and thinking about that whole thing, it's like, man, that's what that lifestyle is all about, right? And I know one thing is like when I say that, nobody made me do dope. I didn't have those friends. I didn't have to stay away from those people. I was those people. I am that person. I am all those other things that other people are talking about, because like when I'm out there getting high, I don't care if you're not getting high. I could care less. I remember, you know, a friend of mine, I didn't see him for, I don't know, 6-7 months. It might have been a year. I don't know. You know how the time flies by when you're out there doing your thing, right? And so he calls me up, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What are you doing? Where you been? He goes, I'm in treatment. I'm clean. This and that. I'm like, and I called him the P word. Like, I could care less, you know? What do you call me for, you know? And I just kind of gave him a hard time about it. He called a known drug dealer to say that he was getting clean. Like, I'm that slippery slope at that time, right? Like, that was my lifestyle, right? He had no business calling me. He was in a treatment center, right? And I didn't realize that and then I seen him after my guardian angels came, and I was at my treatment center, and I heard from him maybe about 8 months into it. And he tried to blame it on me. He's like, you know, John, I called you that night, not when I got high that night. And fortunately, I knew enough about the program to know, no, I didn't get you high. You got yourself high. You know, you called up a guy who's still in his addiction, right? We have no business doing that. You know, like if you're here, if you're thinking like you want to go back and call some people up that you've been hanging out with, or, you know, go back to the trailer park or cruise through the garage that you were doing, that's the places I went to. You know, I was like, I'm from California. I hit some of the best trailer parks that Northern California has to offer. I know that. But the thing about it is, like, for him calling it, and then for my reality of like where I'm after this thing is just like, that was my lifestyle then. I did dope. That's what I did 24/7 for 27 years. Of course, not for the whole 27 years. You start as a teenager, you dabble in it, at least I did, but then, you know, by the time I'm in my 20s, it's an everyday thing. And also to realize, like, the fact of the matter is that the love of the drug, and I didn't come to this realization maybe until about a year being clean, you know, maybe 18 months, but the love of that drug was stronger than it was for the love of my daughters, you know, because, and that's a harsh reality to hear. Like, when you hear that, it's like a punch in the gut, right? And like, you know, we have these moment of clarities as we get clean, and thankfully they all don't come at once, right? Thankfully we just don't get washed over with all these dang emotions, like, oh, I did that, or I did this, but you know, as that came, you know, luckily, you know, I was able to kind of look at it, and that's what this program also offers us. It gives us time to be able to heal and to look at the things that we really want to look at, and to be honest about it, because I just know that for me is I have to be honest about what I'm doing, you know. So that's just a little side story to get into where I was at. And so April 24th, you know, and being hauled off to jail, and I just remember, you know, the cuffs on, and yourself in California, and you're driving down the road there, heading to jail, and thinking to myself, man, I'm 41 years old. What have I done with my life? You know, it's just like nothing about the dope. It was just like, I'm in the back of a cop car. I'm in a lot of trouble. You know, and one thing about me too is I always kind of prided myself. I was like, I was never that guy that went to prison. I was never the guy that did a lot of county time. I was always working. I was always doing this, and also it kept me feeling like I had like a better program, so to speak, right, of getting high than the other guys that I knew that were getting busted all the time, that were getting hemmed up and going away, and I was able to avoid it, right? And after getting clean, it's like, shit, I wish that would have happened to me when I was 22 years old. You know, maybe that would have snapped out of it, but the truth of it is that it all unfolds the way it unfolds. So, you know, continuing down, you know, to getting to county there, And like they have a nurse, and you go in there and they check your vitals, this and that. And so when I saw the nurse, I said, they're not going to be able to keep me because of my blood pressure. I knew it was going to be high, And let me back up. About 2 years earlier, I fell in my backyard and thought I had a concussion. But of course, I stayed up all night long with my buddy, still doing the drug that we did that keeps you up all night, right? And the next morning, as we were just doing whatever, and I said to him, "Hey Trent, man, I think I got a concussion." And so, I'm gonna take it. I say, I think I need to go to the hospital because the room was like shrinking in and getting larger, and everything was turning into these little pinholes, and so I was probably on the verge. I was on the verge of having a stroke anyway. So when we get to the hospital, I tell the doctor what's going on, and so he hooks me up to the monitor, and he's getting my, he hooks up the monitor. My blood pressure at that time was hovering around 300 over 200. So, and later find out I had an enlarged heart, my brain had swelled. So as he has this on there, he's like, "Well, Mr. Fogelman, is there any reason why your blood pressure is so high?" And I'm like, "I don't do drugs." And I look back and see this, and it's like, the comedy of it. He's like, "Okay, I don't remember asking that." We got another one. Is probably what he's thinking, And so, and then they continued to take my blood, and then they got my urine. And I remember being in there, and some of the other nurses would come in, and they would actually look in and go, "Is this the guy whose blood pressure is so high?" I was like, "You're not even supposed to be alive. That's extreme, man, And everybody was real friendly. They'd come in, they'd be really nice, man, and I'm thinking, somebody must have put something in my cereal, or and my buddy Trent on the way there, he's like, "Just tell me to drink a bunch of energy drinks." I was like, "Okay," I completely forgot about that, but. And so it was about an hour and a half into it, and the doctor, how you can tell someone's demeanor just is different by the way they walk, or you can just their footsteps were heavy, and so I heard his footsteps coming down the hall into my room, and I knew that it was a different kind of walk, He comes walking in, he's like, "Mr. Fogelman," no nice tone either, "Mr. Fogelman, I know why your blood pressure's so high." I'm like, "Because it's full of methamphetamines." I'm like, "How dare you accuse me of doing drugs," right? And they had me hooked up to a monitor. They got my blood. They got my pee. They got everything. And I only say that to the reasons is because we deny it even when we're faced with it, right? They could have had a video of me doing it and showed it to me, and I would still have said, "Nope, that's not me." You know what I mean? That's just what I did. That's what we did. And so the comedy of that, and I just, I don't remember the doctor's reaction, but I could just imagine him shaking his head, going, "Man, I got another drug addict." Another guy is just like a complete denial of it. So, fast forward from that was 2 years, like I said, before I got arrested. And then, they tried to get me on medication, and I was on about 12 pills. And, by that time I had sold my truck, and the only thing I had was my bicycle left over. And so, I was a contractor at one point, and I think, I actually did a job on my bike, and I got the nickname of a contractor on a bike, And it wasn't like a Harley Davidson, it was like a Gary Fisher mountain bike, and I just thought I had it going on. So, but Lee, I went about 2 weeks after that one time, and I stayed clean about 2 weeks, so it wasn't like I went through no program. I just was abstinent until I couldn't take it no more. Then I went out, and then that's really when the addiction of being in sales and all that stuff really took off. But fast forwarding now to April 24, 2009, being in jail, and having that little backstory of why I knew my blood pressure was going to be high, I used to go into Walgreens and things like that and go to the machine, and the machine couldn't even read my blood pressure because it was so dang high. It would just say malfunction, and I would get up and walk away with that thing, having resentment towards that machine. Fucking machine's not working, man. I'm just tired of all this thing, and I'm gonna be. And then one of the other things that I did to combat it is you guys ever see the movie The Secret, right? The Positive Thoughts, So I had a CD of The Secret. I had that playing at my house, loop to loop, thinking positive thoughts. I'm not going to have a heart attack. My blood pressure's fine. Everything's going well. Thinking that's going to carry me through. And maybe it did carry me through for those 2 years. But getting to the point with the nurse, and then of course when the day I did get arrested, it was 250 over 150. So it had dropped a little bit, but it's still incredibly high. And with that, and then for me, thinking the whole insanity of the thing is thinking how I'm dodging the authorities again, right? I'm getting away from another one now. You're supposed to be dead. The blood pressure is just like this, what are we gauging this on? You know, I mean, like, so for me to think about, like, you know, the fact that, like, having a stroke, and strokes run in my family too. My brother actually had one. My grandfather died of one, and so for the fact is, like, that wasn't even on my mind. Is like, that's the whole insanity of this disease as well, on how we start to think about it. It's crazy. So so getting there with you know, they weren't actually able to put me in jail, so that's when they carted me back to the hospital. And when I started this thing off, I was talking about a moment of clarity. So, you know, getting back to the county hospital, and, you know, being handcuffed to the gurney, and you know, a couple cops around me, and I remember being in there. I remember recognizing some of the other nurses from when I was in there before, and I remember I brought a buddy up there. And it just seems like when we're out in that dope life, like, we're always at the hospital, we're always bringing somebody in. Someone's having something, some kind of ailment, something's going on with them. And I think, like, if I had something going on with me when I'm getting high, when I'm doing dope, and it's like, and it's something I can't really explain what it is, it's because of the dope. The dope is causing whatever the hell, that weird strain in your ear, or your left eye is twitching, or, you know, your right knee is swelled up. It's because the dope you're putting into your body. That's kind of that was my professional opinion as a doctor. So so getting there, and I just remember, you know, and I remember the doctor coming up. You know, he had my chart, and I remember he was a nice guy. You know, he was just, you know, Mr. Fogel, when I see that you have a history of high blood pressure, and just, you know, you've been taking your medication. Because, you know, like I said, 2 years earlier, they gave me like 12 pills to take, you know, and by that time I wasn't doing anything. I was just doing my drug of choice, right? Or my drug of addiction. I didn't choose that drug, it's what I got addicted to, you know. And so I said to him, no, and he said to me, he says, well, why? Right? And that little, well, why, was like, I don't know. I didn't have an answer for him, right? I'm 41 years old, and I'm handcuffed to a gurney, and I don't have the relationship with my daughters anymore, and, you know, a failed business, and failed, you know, and it's funny, I say like failed business like I was like a businessman. The fact of the matter is that I worked for myself for so many years because I couldn't pass a drug test for anybody else, you know. So I went just, you know, got myself a truck and started doing construction. You know, I wasn't going to drug test myself. Matter of fact, if you didn't do drugs, you probably weren't going to work with me. You know, that was one of the requirements. So I just remember having that moment of clarity. There was like a little light bulb that went on. There was something there that said, you know what? I may have a drug problem. You know, this is 27 years into it. This is like, I remember, you know, being a kid, you know, in my teens, and doing all that, and you know, and wanting to quit back then. And the only time I ever wanted to quit doing drugs is when I was high. It was never when I was when I wasn't. You know, and I was always on. I was like, I'm gonna quit today. You know, and of course that would wear off. I'm like, oh, gotta go get it again. I would completely forget about quitting. So when that moment of clarity hit, like, for me, and like for our step one, like the powerlessness, I think that if I wanted to have experienced that it would have been a lot more difficult for me to be able to wrap my mind around step one about me being powerless over this, over my addiction, you know. And so, like, I think that's vital, you know. And I'm not going to say, like, if I'm saying that, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I haven't had my moment of clarity, you know. Maybe I need to go out and get that one, or, you know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, this is my story. This is what worked for me. So, and I always like to add on to it too, is that for the fact that I had that moment of clarity, and then I found a treatment center, I'm gonna be real clear. It wasn't just because I wanted to get clean. It's also because they attached the same, in a sentence, they put my name in the same word as prison, right? That scared the hell out of me, you know. Like, I know that's not a concern for a lot of guys, but for me, it's like it opened my eyes up, right? And the kind of thing is just like, and with that being said, and I also like to say that too, because like if you're in here today, and if you're going to meetings, and there's someone in there getting a court sheet signed, and there's someone in there that's like, you know, getting a nudge from the judge, so to speak, hey man, at least they're in a meeting, you know. And I just know that for me too, is like, and you know, a lot of times guys come in and, you know, they might not act right, and they might fidget, or they might be fucking with their phone, or trying to get with somebody, or, you know, it's the kind of thing is like, man, like for me, as I see it, I just like to try to give people a chance, right? Because when I came in, and for my sensitivity level, I'm a sensitive guy, right? And so, and my sensitivity level then was off the charts, right? And if I would have came in, and if somebody would have barked at me, I probably wouldn't have gave this thing a chance. And I just know that for me, it's just for me. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's going to bark at that newcomer, because because I don't want to be the reason that he uses me to go out and get high, you know. And so like that's how I look at it for the program. But with that, with the fact of you know, having an obligation to the judicial system, you know, because so I got myself into a treatment center, you know, and that was all vital for me, man. When I think about this, when I think about how it all laid out for me, I couldn't have planned it, you know. I could not have planned it. Like I talked about earlier about being in my head and about having the anxiety and stuff like that. One thing that I've done throughout that whole time, and I've continued to do for quite a few times, is I have a relationship with a higher power that's amazing. And so even this morning, we're up in our hotel room. Me and my wife had prayed, but then she had left, and then I went back to bed and got on my knees and prayed, you know. And that's something I've definitely prayed before when I thought my heart was going to jump out of my chest, when I thought I was having a heart attack. Please don't let me die. You know, my daughter's in another room. I don't want to have a heart attack in the kitchen. You know, I remember vividly being in that spot, right? You know, and I know that we've all heard of that before, like those prayers where we want to be able to save our life. But like, this is like turning it over to a higher power where I've learned that's going to guide me through this, and that's loving and caring, you know, and it's definitely more, you know, is a greater power than myself. And to be able to have that and turn that over is like an amazing thing. And so like starting this thing off too, I want to go back to the beginning, is like, again, if you're in this thing, you don't know nothing about higher power, or if you hear that, you know, please try not to let that scare you off, you know, because like the higher power, it's for what works for you, you know, and just to have that backbone with him it's like amazing. So, you know, so getting myself into a treatment center and you know, and doing what Dave asked, you know, I didn't know anything about NA or NA or any other A. I just was at a treatment center. They told me to get into a van. I went to a meeting. And they told me to sit in the front row because I had less than a week. If we had a month, then I could sit in the second row. And then if you get up to like 60 days, you get to sit way back in the fourth row. And you're like, this is awesome, you know? And like that was like a big deal to me. Like, you know, going there and like following what, it's funny when you think about it because like you're a 41-year-old man and I'm able to sit in the fourth row now. I'm not like one of the newcomers that's up in the first row, you know? And like those like little things that treatment centers, like, you know, so I'm a big proponent for the treatment centers. Like, if that's where you're at and you're going through it, it's like, man, more power to you. You're in a place that's going to save your life, you know, and just keep working, you know. And so being there, and I just remember one thing too, like I talked about with higher power and this whole part of it is like for their steps, the other fellowship, you know, and they had it up on the wall. But I remember saying, well, what if I don't believe in God, you know? You know, and what I meant by that too is that I'm trying to find a reason for this thing not to work for me. I'm trying to find, I'm trying to say, well, no, you can't make me do that. I'm not going to follow you. This thing isn't going to work. But that's when one of my other brothers, you know, he explained to me about, man, this is, you know, it's a God of your own understanding. And they kind of went through the whole thing. So, you know, those are all first for me. Those were all first from where I was at, you know. And just when I said brothers too, like I think about the guys that I went to treatment with. I've never been a soldier. I've never been in war, right? But those guys that was at treatment center for, like, we had a bond because it's almost like you got off the field of the war, right? I mean, because we're out there, we're battling, man. You know, and when we get in that place, and just to take it one step further, so like Narcotics Anonymous, whenever I come to the conventions or if I go to meetings, and I'll see people greet one another, and like, man, they got a genuine hug, right? They're like happy to see one another. It's like, man, you're still here. We're still doing this thing, you know? Like that's a beautiful thing. I love doing that. Like I'm a big guy in hugs. I'll hug you 4 times in one day, you know? But you know, getting through that treatment center and like working my steps 1, 2, and 3, and that's really what I was doing. I was just going 1, 2, and 3, not really realizing exactly what the heck I was doing, but at least I was at the program, at least I was still doing it, you know, and I kind of say that too, like if you're at a treatment center, you know, do your best to follow the treatment center says, get through that, and then you become, you know, then we become part of Narcotics Anonymous. And so, and I know that, you know, I spent a little over 8 months at my place, and again, it wasn't like and I always like to clarify too, because it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to stay here for 8 months, and I want to get all this program has to offer. It was the kind of thing, it's like, that's what the courts told me to do. The day after I fulfilled my obligation to the judicial system, I left the program. The day after, you know, and luckily I found, you know, I found a place to stay, and I also told myself I'm going to take a week off meetings. I almost got high, you know. I almost went on and got high, so the fact of the matter is and then, you know, I stumbled into another fellowship, but then, and like I said, the whole time when I was coming to NA or AA, I didn't know which one I was at. You know, so obviously, I mean, there might be some people in this room that are like, they're like, I'm at a convention, I'm not really sure what the hell's going on here. I'm not really sure what this is all about. That's okay. You just kind of keep showing up. We just kind of keep coming back and doing what we need to do, you know. So when I made my way to Narcotics Anonymous, I was up in Folsom, California, and then I got the whole coffee position. You always get railroaded into that, you know, and then getting a sponsor, getting a sponsor and start working our steps. You know, I could skip right through 1, 2, and 3 and go to 4, but that's not what this meeting is about. This is about 1, 2, and 3. You know, that'd be for another time. But getting to the 1, 2, and 3, I just really, in doing what my sponsor suggested me to get to. Like for me, having that moment of clarity at the hospital, just that little tiny bit, because I didn't have that throughout. I didn't have anything like that I experienced throughout the 27 years of moving. But like getting in there and then realizing my powerlessness, a lot of sponsors they work it out of the NA working book. I'm not a big fan of it. Probably a lot of people that aren't. There's just a lot of redundancy and a lot of things like that, which is great for a lot of people. I worked it through there with a group of guys, and it took us about 18 months. But my sponsor also took me through it a little different way. And just the first up was like writing down what my relationship was with my disease. Like that's a strange question to look at, but really what was going on with John back when all this was happening? What was really, and that's also like when I say is like my relationship with my disease is like it ruled me. It's all that mattered. It was stronger than the love of my daughters. That's my reality, And like for me to be able to realize that and understand that powerlessness is like if I go back into that, this thing's over. I'm not part of your guys' lives, and worst of all, you're not part of mine, right? I have zero relationship with my daughters. I probably won't be married. And the fact of the matter is, I might even take my own life just because I'd be so dang, so hard on myself. Because me having my clean time, being part of this thing, it's like nothing else. It's like of course, I didn't experience. I knew nothing about it when I was out there getting high. But then when I come into this program and I start to meet you guys and I start to become part of this. And I gotta tell you, man, like the genuineness of you guys and like getting the hugs and people just being friendly and like that's something we didn't get a lot out there, right? Like that's something that just drew me to this thing. I just love this part of it, But like the powerlessness is just like, that's something that's embedded in me, and I just know that I can't go out. I can't, and like what's gonna hit me first is like cracking that beer. That's gonna be the first thing that I'm gonna want to do. I was working at a treatment center, and. We had Will Ferrell, one of his movies, Talladega Nights. He had a coarse shirt on, and we were all watching it. And at that moment, when I saw that, I talk about like the urges coming up, So I'm a resident manager at a treatment center with a room for like 40 guys in there. Where it was a Friday night watching a movie, and I see that shirt. That's all, and I heard the crack of the beer, and I smelled it, and that overwhelming feeling came over me. And the thing about it is, like, when that happened, I was really embarrassed, and I didn't feel like I was worthy because, like, how could I be having these feelings when I'm actually so far ahead of the guys that are in there just trying to get clean? I had like 3 years, so I was an old timer, right? And so the fact of the matter is, and the reality of this thing is like it doesn't give a shit how much time you have. It's not going to change, right? And the thing is that I got to be honest with you guys. And the next morning when we were there, we did check, and I shared it with them, and then because I was kind of ashamed with it, And after I realized that, I remember Becca was in my home group. I remember sharing about it there and talking about it with my sponsor and all those other things, and just like that's how this thing comes up. It's like when we least expect it, you're gonna get the urge to want to go out and do something, right? And the thing I think if we don't share about it, we keep ourselves quiet with it, well then then we're heading down a slippery slope. We got to be transparent. We got to be able to talk about what's going on. So. And then the next step was we had me do is like, what's my relationship? What would my relationship look like with my higher power, right? And so I would go from my disease to my higher power, because the first step is we're talking about powerlessness, and our second step, we're coming to believe. And then when I start looking at that, it starts to open up other I'm just getting thoughts about it. What does that look like? And how's John? How am I going to be able to turn things over to him? How's that going to be going? And then the third step is actually like, how's it look? What's my life look like when I turn it over to him? When I completely turn over to my higher power with what's going on? I don't know about you guys. I tend to take it back. I tend to take it back and all on not just with all facets of my life, with my relationship, with work, with everything. Like I'll have a good mindset on something, and things are going good, and all of a sudden I want to take that power back, and then John wants to start running the show. And I hear that all the time. I know that I'm not the only one with that. So, but doing your step work, getting involved, getting yourself a sponsor. Doing your step work, becoming a service, getting a home group. These are all things that we're asked to do, and they're all things like service work to keep it clean, right? And just the fact I think of that coffee commitment. I heard a speaker earlier, and she was just like, if I'm not there, they're not gonna be able to have coffee. They need me, And she kind of laughed. She says, they don't really need me. In my mind, I'm thinking, yes, we do need you, right? And we need everybody in this room. Like if that's our service commitment, if we're gonna go there and open doors, and I would actually really. I think a good service for all of us right now, just so what we do, is just be friendly and welcoming to the newcomer, man. Not just the newcomer, but the people that people that because there's people at your meetings, at your home groups that you might want to avoid. You're like, I can't stand that motherfucker. It's just like I can't. I don't want to hear nothing more about him. But the fact that you go up and give a genuine hug and try to break that barrier, that's what this is all about too. So I know that's one thing I try to do sometimes when I don't like it, but still, and then after you just feel better, and that's what this program teaches us. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. And so I know that when I started it, I never thought that I wasn't even tripping about the drugs. I wasn't even tripping about where I was at. I had no idea what this was going to turn into. I just knew that what was happening right there was something that I had no control over. Well, I guess I had control. I didn't have to go in a treatment center. I could have went to jail, Or I remember the night when they had me in the hospital, and I remember walking out of my room, and both hallways were empty, right? I got the gurney on. I'm only about 4 miles away from where I live, right? And it hit me and said, should I run? And I'm looking down like this. And it's all quiet. It's like midnight. I just walked over to the nurse's station and says, "Can I have an apple juice?" I got an apple juice. Went back to my bed and just sat down there and thank God I didn't run. It's like my higher power just put this gift. Now I just want to say one thing. It's like if you're here today and you're getting clean, you don't even realize, but you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. Mm-hmm. For us not, and that's the thing, is all we have to do is not get high. Right? And then life just opens up, and we have these things that open up to us, and we didn't even realize it was going to happen. I'm from California. I had no idea you're living in Georgia. Right? I've been here for 6 years now, and Georgia's my home. Amazing. I got a fantastic relationship with my daughters. Right? They're 30 and 29, and one thing too is the NA has helped me do. It's helped me to become a father to two grown daughters. Imagine if I was still treating them like they were teenagers. They would want nothing to do with me. Right? And if I stayed in my addiction, if I wasn't dead, that's how I would still be treating them. So NA affords these things. Not to mention, I'm married. I was single for over 20 years. Right? Met a beautiful girl, man. We're married. She's in the program. One thing we both got our own. We both do our own program too. We're not saying, "Oh, you're going to your meeting tonight. You got your sponsor. You got She does her thing. I do my thing. And I just kind of ended with this. It's just also for wherever you're at is just so I'm from North Atlanta, but I've been working out here in Warner Robins. And I've been out for about 3 months, and what I did, one of the first things is I got to know the meetings down here, Like I said, I know Charlotte down here, see some of the familiar faces, right? And the kind of thing is that's vital for me. That's vital for me. I can't go to a place and not become part of Narcotics Anonymous. If not, I'm going to be out there in the wind by myself, and I'm not going to be able to make it. So now I've been out here for 3 months working, and I come here, I'm giving hugs to people from the Piedmont area before I would never even know, but now they're all family. That gives me chills right now thinking about that, It's that is so cool. I mean, it allowed me to move from California to Georgia because when I was here visiting my daughters, I went to an NA convention. I was down in Atlanta, and it hit me flying home. It was man, NA is everywhere. It's not just in Northern California. It's not just wrapped up in the clubhouse that's up there. My daughters are here, and so is NA, so I'm not coming out here by myself. So when I got here, I came out here with all of you guys. And when I did the first meeting, I was like, "Hey, I'm John. I'm an addict. I'm from California. I'm just getting this thing started." You know what happened? got a bunch of hugs, got a bunch of numbers, got a bunch of love, and and I still have that same member, that same card that I got, and everybody on there, I still know who they are, man, and just like, and where else can you do that, right? It's just amazing, man. So I don't know what the time is. I probably went good enough. So thanks for letting me share.
Sam T. I'm that.
Hey, Sam.
Truly grateful to be here and to be afforded this opportunity. It's a good day to be clean. I want y'all to understand something. How do you play baseball without a ball or a bat? How do you recover without the steps?
That's right.
I want you to understand something. It says in the basic text, and I take these around so I can be grounded because I have a tendency to go off on tangents at times. Our only hope is to live by the example of those who have faced our dilemma and have found a way out. So those people that were here before I got here, they showed me the way. When I got here, they say, work the steps or die, MF. They didn't give it to me on a silver platter. I have not found it necessary to use since July 4th, 1986. It was only through the God of my understanding in this program of Narcotics Anonymous. Now, it also says that the steps are our solution. When they ask me to come, I'm always willing to serve. And an old friend of mine that's in the program said, when you going to get back into service work? I said, I'm in service work now. I have not made a service commitment, one of those service commitments for a year or more in quite some time. But anytime I'm asked to do something, I'm willing to do that. Because I can't ever forget where I came from. That's very important to me. If I forget where I came from, I'm liable to go back. I can never forget that. So what I want you to understand is it says that the steps are our solution. The first 3 steps are the foundation of our recovery. And I've learned a long time ago, without a good foundation, you can't build a life. The God of my understanding showed me something a long time ago, and I didn't pay it any attention. Before I got clean, I lived in some dilapidated apartments. And when I walked out of my door every morning, there was a building across the yard that had a crack. From the first floor to the second floor in a brick building. I didn't pay that any attention for years until I got clean, and I said, myself, why did that building have a crack in it? That building had a crack in it because that foundation was not firm. I ran around for years trying to get my life together and couldn't get it together because I didn't have a firm foundation. How you gonna build a new life if you don't develop a firm foundation? The first 3 steps to me, the principles behind the steps, and see a lot of people, they work the steps. I'm talking about living the steps. I want you to understand that honesty is the principle behind step 1. Hope, step 2, and faith, step 3. You put those 3 ingredients together, you're going to get a firm foundation. The thing about step 1, I went around years trying to prove that I was not powerless. I don't know about y'all. I tried different methods, different techniques to prove that I had some kind of control. Right? I mean, if red liquor gave me a problem, the answer was to drink some white liquor. I tried to be a weekend warrior. None of y'all tried that before, right? Somebody stopped by the house with that package on Wednesday. I tried to moderate, right? I'm going to buy this and I'm going to sit it in the refrigerator. And I'm going to get me just a couple right here. I'm going to have enough for Sunday when the game come on. And man, I've been back to the package store 3-4 times since that time, right? I tried geographic change. Maybe y'all have never done that, but I went from Macon to Newark, New Jersey. I was tired of the life I was living. I was tired of the people that I was hanging around with, and I needed a change. And I was going to get that change. So I went to Newark and found out I got a rude awakening. The Sam that I tried to leave in Macon followed me to New Jersey. And I didn't try that just one time. And these things that we tried them many times just to find out that didn't work. When there was no war going on, I joined the Air Force. I was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base, Omaha, Nebraska. I think Omaha's underwater right now because of those floods. But it's one of the most secure air bases in our United States. Strategic Air Command Headquarters, that's where I worked at. I had above top secret clearance. I went to work in my dress blues every day until I got busted. Now, I was using drugs way before I went in the Air Force. Of course, when they asked me those questions down at the recruiting station, I lied. You do any drugs? No, man. No drugs. Right? So I'm standing behind a computer console one day, and this guy walks up to me, and I never saw this guy a day in my life. He had a part down the middle of his head, had some round glasses on. He looked up at me and he said, "Hey man, you get high? I'm in a top secret installation. I gotta have a security badge to walk in this place." And he asked me a question. "Man, get away from me." Next time I saw him, he was at his house at a party, at a toga party. And he said, "Passion, puff, puff, pass." I tried many things in many ways and many techniques to try to prove that I had no control. So this honesty in step one is essential. It's important that we open up our eyes. If it don't work, why you keep trying to do it? See, in step one, it actually talks about the insanity. If you get honest about it, it actually talks about the insanity. It was nothing for me to come home with a wife and 2 kids, and my wife say, "The lights are off." I said, "Where the plows at?" And I never missed a step. It was nothing for me to get paid on Friday and be broke Saturday morning. But I still want to think that I had some kind of power. This disease will take you from the penthouse to the outhouse, and you'll love it. And you won't be able to see it while you're in it. So stopping is, you've got to stop in order for anything else to happen. So this can clear up. I couldn't get along with anybody. The unmanageability of my life, that's the second part of the first step. I want you to understand that I couldn't get along with anybody. I couldn't get along with people I worked with. I worked with my dad after I lost that good job. And my dad did construction work. He did drywall. This man had with a grade school education, was able to send me to college. And I want you to understand, I look at that today and I say I have no excuses for anything. Because if he can do that, I can move up the next step or the next level. I want you to understand something, that first step, getting honest with yourself, is very difficult because we have this thing called self-deceit. So many times we fool ourselves. Between here and here, I can justify anything, and it makes sense. Right? When I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I knew nothing about staying clean. Absolutely nothing. But I thought I knew everything. You can't tell me about me. I know me. Right? When I got to that treatment center, I want you to understand, I went there kicking and screaming almost. I mean, it was the last resort. I was running out of options. Because as long as I had options, I figured my way out, and I thought I was too smart for this thing to get me. Have any of y'all out there ever done anything you said that you would never, ever do? One man raised his hand, I got a bunch of nods. Okay. Well, maybe I'm in the wrong place, but it's all right. I want you to understand something. This thing is degrading. It will take away your personal values. It will compromise. It makes no difference what you believe in. But if you believe in anything, it will take that away from you. And you got to get real about that. And I guarantee you, nobody signed up to be an addict. It tells me that I am powerless over my addiction. That's the disease. That disease is composed of obsessive compulsive behavior. Right? See, I didn't say anywhere in Narcotics Anonymous it said, now drugs are mentioned a lot of times, but in the step it says I'm powerless over my addiction. Right? So what I want you to understand about that is, my addiction continues. That illness is that uncurable illness. It continues in me. The drugs are just a symptom of that disease. And I want you to understand something. I don't have the luxury of having a drug of choice. I came to the realization that my drug of choice is Mo. M-O. Any mo, some mo, one mo, mo. If you can't understand that, please keep coming back. So we move on to the second step, and the second step talking about being restored to sanity. But it's about hope, and I want you to understand, it says, first we came. That means I showed up to a meeting. Now, when I showed up to a meeting, I said this was some bullshit. I mean, we're going to sit around in a circle, we're going to share our deepest feelings and our thoughts and all that, and that's supposed to help me to stay clean. I just told you I didn't know anything about staying clean, but all of a sudden I'm saying, this is some bullshit. How did that work? So I'm skeptical, but I'm coming because I ran out of options, right? So as I come, I learned that the drugs have been removed out of my life, and I'm doing things to stay off the drugs, but still life goes on. I don't know about y'all, but I used to start arguments with my wife. Now, she knew my pattern long before I did. Monday and Tuesday, I was humble as could be, because I went out that weekend and really caused some damage. Right? Wednesday, something wrong in his house. You know something? If you get some fresh grease, cook that chicken right there, it sure tastes a whole lot better. Tell a woman how to cook, you can start an argument. Talk about that house not being clean, you can start an argument. I would start arguments on Wednesday, but she tried to prepare to the best of her ability for these arguments, and she couldn't. I found a way to get under her skin. Thursday, I ain't got nothing to say to you because we had an argument yesterday. Friday, I can't make it home with the chicken. This pattern of behavior, this insanity, I keep doing the same thing. I swore off last Saturday morning, I'm never going to do this again. Just to repeat that same behavior week after week after month after year. Y'all get that? Yeah. And when we're in this vicious cycle, we cannot see it. And I told you all those attempts at control was me trying to restore myself to sanity. And it didn't work. The step says we came. So when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I heard somebody say in the midst of my skepticism, one is too many and 1,000 never enough. That sounds familiar. If you don't pick up, you won't get high. What a concept. That was too simple for me to even comprehend. So I came. And when I had the argument with my wife, I went and told on my wife. I went to a meeting. I said, look, my name is Sam, I'm a my wife keeps talking about what I used to do. Somebody raise their hand. Did you do it? Yeah. What you get mad about? You get mad about the truth? But you don't need to be talking about that. See, I went in that meeting with a lot of confusion, a lot of conflict going on the inside. I'm went in that meeting trying to find answers, trying not to you. And when I left that meeting with some answers. They told me it wasn't my wife. Well, who is it? Same thing they told me when I complained about my dad that he used to work with. Because my dad used to talk about me like a dog. For his own protection. If y'all can comprehend that. He was afraid of what I might do. So he'd tell me, in his defense, you ain't gonna stay clean. But damn, Dad. Man, I need you to be my support. This is what I'm thinking. Boy, you done gone from sugar to shit. Now we working on a construction site. The electrician there, the plumber's there, the carpenter's there. He's saying that just like I'm talking to you. I'm saying, hey man, lighten up. Right? I went and told on him. At the meeting. I told y'all. Y'all looked at me and said, it ain't your dad. I just told you what he did. He ain't got to do that to me. He said, he didn't do that to you. You did that to you. Damn, man. Y'all cold-blooded up in this kid. Right? If I could have restored myself to sanity, I would have. I would have never made it to Narcotics Anonymous. Thank God I made it to Narcotics Anonymous. Thank God he prepared a place for me to go. See, I'm going to tell you this. See, this insanity is real crazy. See, we don't only affect ourselves, we affect everybody around us. When I got back to the house and I'm trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good father, my wife is still angry. She's still talking about the past. And women have this power. They exercise whenever they feel like it. Because it's awesome. I don't know about y'all, but I'm being honest, I didn't know how to deal with that. When I was out there using it, you could, okay, that's right, you don't want, all right, I do what I need to do. Faithfulness was not one of my strong cards. But now I'm trying to do something different. And I'm going to the meeting, and I don't know about y'all, but y'all told me to get a sponsor. And to share my innermost thoughts with another man was something that was hard for me to do. The guy that's my sponsor today, and one of the reasons he's my sponsor because he dropped some knowledge on me back in those days. But right at that time, he was just somebody, a network in my program. I've had one other sponsor before him. And after the meeting one day, this stuff was weighing on me. I'm trying to do the right thing. And I said, hey man, I need to talk to you after the meeting. It's okay. I said, look man, my wife don't want him. He said, what? I said, my wife don't want him. Man, what you talking about? I said, my wife don't want to give me none, man. He said, oh. Then he said, it's her. I'm saying, excuse me? I said, that's my wife, man. He said, it's her. Okay. Then he turned around and said that I have never known anybody to die from lack of. Man, you don't understand. Man, I ain't had nothing wild and getting angry. Right? He said, you'll live. And then he shared with me and said the same thing happened to me. I said, well, what you do? He said, I left her alone. Oh, you went and got some more? He said, no. I gave her her space. Now I'm faced with a dilemma. I can go and do things my insane way, or I can follow some different direction. I'm talking about somebody giving me a little hope. Right? So what happened was this. I left her alone. Laid off her. Stopped begging. About a week went past. She said, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing. She said, you getting it somewhere else? I said, no. She said, well, come on back in. I said, okay. I want y'all to understand something. By myself, I couldn't do that. I couldn't come up with those answers. I had to allow somebody inside. So I want you to understand, when I went there mad to Narcotics Anonymous, when I went there distraught, when I went there confused, I went to Narcotics Anonymous. I shared that information, and a power greater than myself, working through you people, helped me to find the solutions.
Yes, sir.
Step work. Right? I want you to understand something. People confuse that stuff thinking that it's talking about God. It's not talking about God. It's a power greater. I was raised in the church. I had a good understanding, I thought, we'll get to that in a minute, about God and religion and all that. They ain't talking about that. See, that group was that power greater than me in the beginning. But as I came and I kept coming, what I came to understand was that it was my God working through you people to help me. And that moves me on to step 3. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. First time that God is mentioned in the step. See, we've got to, this spiritual thing, we are spiritually broken. When you do things to compromise your values, it breaks your spirit. When you do things that you say you would never do, it breaks your spirit. When you do those things, and the only solution is, the only coping skill you got is to do some more dope, you get caught in this vicious cycle. And the steps breaks you out of the cycle. But this step is about faith. Faith is about things we cannot see. The simple definition. I believe it's going to be okay, but I don't know how it's going to work out. All I know is going to work out. The man that talked before me, John that talked before me, said we have a tendency to take it back. So my understanding about this step is this. Examine your trust in your higher power, in the God of your understanding. See, I come to realize that the God I understand today is the same God that I was raised with. I just understand him differently. Narcotics Anonymous introduced me to a thing called unconditional love. I had to look at that thing. Because when I came in here, y'all were willing to take me out to eat. And I didn't have to pay for it. My first thing was, what you want? Right? Y'all were willing to come pick me up and not even get no gas money. Back in the day now, y'all, there's something different today. Man, you understand? Gas high. I was taught to pay it forward. Right? I don't know what's happening today, but pray for y'all. Okay? But I want you to understand something. that I looked at the fact that the God that I understand has spared me through so many things. I am blessed and highly favored. People that I have gotten high with are dead. My family that I used to get high with, most of them are dead. Why am I still sucking air? Why am I still living? Why has He graced me or blessed me to be still living? I'm 65 years old, in fairly good health. I got my aches and my pains that comes with age. I'm a diabetic, I got high blood pressure. Hey! But I'm still able to do that. I'm still able to wake up in the morning, to go to work in the morning. You understand what I'm saying? No, I'm not retired yet, because if I had done the things that I need to do before I got to retirement, I'll be retired. Truth of the matter is, I can even still work if I want to keep living like I'm living. But this unconditional love, I've been in car accidents since I've been clean. And one other day, a hog killed my baby, told it out. I felt some kind of way about that. Then I came to realize I can get another baby, or I'll pay any kind of car I want to get, pretty much, given time. But I'm still living. I'm still able. I need to be grateful for the things I have instead of being not grateful for the shit I don't have. See, that's how we get mixed up. I know addicts, we never had enough of anything. I always want more. Didn't I just tell you that? Huh? My drug of choice is more, M-O, some more, any more, one more, more. Right? But this faith, this honesty, this hope, this faith is the foundation, it's the concrete, it's that slab for you to build the rest of your life. If you've got that faith, the exercise of that faith is going on to the next 9 steps. Because if you stop there, because all you've done is made a decision. Made a decision to trust the God of my understanding, to turn my will and life. And I found out through years that when my will and God's will lined up, I have a very good day. Yeah. It's when I'm in conflict with God's will that I have problems. I like to tell this little story. There was this girl on the airplane. And there was this guy, he was afraid of flying. And he had read this book that says that if he have conversation during the flight, that will make that flight go a whole lot better for him. So he got on, and it was open seating on the flight, and the only seat that was available was next to this little girl. This little girl was reading the book and said, "Ma'am, excuse me, do you mind if I sit here next to you?" She said, "No, have a seat." And the little girl might have been 13, 14 years old, somewhere around. She was a pretty bright young lady. And he said, "Well, ma'am, let me excuse you again because I'm really nervous about flying. But if you would you engage me in conversation? Because if you engage me in conversation, it'll make this flight a whole lot better for me." And the little girl said, "Yeah, I'll do that. I don't have a problem." She closed the book and said, "Now, what do you want to talk about?" And the guy said, "Well, what I want to talk about is nuclear physics." And the little girl said, "That's fine. Before we talk about nuclear physics, can you tell me a few things?" He said, I will. I'll try my best to." And she said, "Okay, you have a cow, a horse, and a deer. They all eat the same thing. They eat grass. He says, but when that cow has a bowel movement, it comes out in a flat pad. He said, yeah, that's right, that's right. He says, when a horse has a bowel movement, it comes out in a lump of grass. He said, yeah, that's right. He said, when that deer has a bowel movement, it comes out in little pellets. He said, yeah, that's right, that's right. And the little girl looked at him and said, well, can you tell me why that is? And the man thought, and he thought, and he thought. And he said, no, I can't. And so the little girl looked at him and said, well, do you really think yourself qualified to talk about nuclear physics when you don't know shit?